This is a little thing I like to call MLB Rants. Before I get into anything else, I just want to point out that these are only my opinions. They're not universally correct. They're just information I'm providing you guys, and I give my input on the information that I'm giving you, and whether I agree with it, whether I disagree with it, whether I think it's funny or serious, whatever it is. In the comments, if you agree with some of the things I said, write it down. If you disagree with some of the things I said and you want to put your own input onto this video, down in the comments, once again, they're there. So if you have anything, you want to point out, feel free to do so. If there's something that happens from now until next week, put it down in the comments too, and I might be able to do a little report on it next week. Who knows? But yeah, without further ado, I'm really excited. I'm really excited. We are in episode 2, numero dos. The first thing I want to start off with is this picture right here. It looks a little confusing, I know. For me, it's clear as day. And to me, it is clearly the MLB Strikezone this year. That is the MLB Strikezone this year. That is what the Strikezone looks like. It is awful. My last episode was all about umpires and how they need to, fix some things. They need to fix some things. They need to really work on their calls because their calls have been terrible recently. They've been atrocious, literally atrocious. There is no other word to put it. It's atrocious. It was released earlier this week, this picture of what the umpires are going off of this year for what's a ball and what's a strike. The next thing I want to get into are mic'd up moments. Mic'd up moments made its debut a few years ago, especially in the All-Star game and in spring training games, where, you can go find clips of Charlie Blackmon for the Rockies when he played for whichever All-Star game that was, and he was being mic'd up talking to the announcers, and he's like, "Oh, I like looking at my glove and looking back at the scoreboard because I have no one here." He's talking about that, right? I'm constantly seeing clips of Anthony Rizzo just calling pitches and calling home runs, which is incredible because it really gives you an idea of what these players are thinking about, and especially when they're talking to the other team, it's also a good way to know what's going on. What are they talking about? Because you can see them talking on TV, but you can't hear them talking. And these mic'd up moments really, they're really cool, and they really go in. They make the game a lot more enjoyable. I'll say that. They make the game a lot more enjoyable. The reason why I bring this up is because this week, Anthony Rizzo, again, who's mic'd up more than anybody else, he got into a pickle or a rundown with Freddie Freeman from the Braves, who I'm going to get into later. Freddie Freeman, he's a big part of this too. He got into a rundown with Freddie Freeman and called him Frederick, and I thought it was hilarious. More mic'd up moments in general would be great. I love mic'd up moments. They're my favorite. Speaking of Freddie Freeman, the NL 2020 MVP, he released a statement this week discussing his contract for the Braves. He signed an 8-year contract 8 years ago. This is his last year with the Braves until he either re-signs with the Braves or decides to go to another team. Now, when thinking about the Braves, you've got Ronald Acuna Jr., you've got Marcell Ozuna, you've got Ozzie Albies. It's a good team. They've got a good lineup and, power hitters right there. But yet, Freddie Freeman is still on the verge of not re-signing with the Braves. I found this kind of interesting because, to me, as a guy like Freddie Freeman, I feel like there is another meaning for this. There's another reason why. He's not just going to do it just to do it, he must have seen something or heard something, or maybe it's just something he doesn't like in general, like the mojo of the team he doesn't like. If you're on a team that's clearly going to be, with the right signing of players, can be a playoff contention team in the next few years, I don't get why he wouldn't re-sign automatically. If that was brought up, it'd be like, oh yeah, re-sign automatically. That's why I think there's something else going on. There is something he isn't saying to the rest of the world. For me, I think maybe the reason is because with Acuna and Albies getting injured this season, not injured, but like taking a few games off, I thought maybe that was why because maybe he thinks that, oh, they're injury prone now, so I'll leave. But at the same time, they recovered, they regained their strength and started playing again. I don't know. That one is a little weird for me. I don't really get that. Freddie Freeman probably not signing with the Braves again. So, it'll be interesting to look forward to see where he decides to go. And if he does decide to stay with the Braves, I guarantee you that by July, we might have a little bit more information because that's when trade deadlines are. And if he decides to get traded or if he decides to go throughout his contract, then that's that. The next thing, the thing that's really interesting to me from this week is watching the AL West. The AL West is made up of the Angels, Mariners, Rangers, Astros, and Athletics. The Astros have been the dominant team in the AL West for, the past few years. They won the World Series, but again, like I said last episode, they cheated. So, people say, oh, well, it doesn't count. Rangers have been terrible. Mariners have been terrible. Angels have kind of battled with Houston last few years, but they could never pull it together. This year, however, the Seattle Mariners, who are usually bottom of the league, are currently leading the AL West. They are leading. They're in front of the Angels. They're in front of the Astros. They're the AL Rookie of the Year last year, Kyle Lewis, plays for the Mariners. He just got onto the roster because he was injured. But they've got J.P. Crawford. They had a good team last year because J.P. Crawford was a great shortstop. Don't get me. I personally feel like J.P. Crawford last year was one of the best shortstops in the league, behind Fernando Tatis Jr., Corey Seager. I can't. Maybe Javier Baez, but not that much. As of right now, they're on top of the AL West, which is surprising to see. And the other thing I want to point out from the AL West is the Oakland Athletics. The Oakland Athletics started their season 0-6. They lost 6 games, especially for the team that they were last year. It was kind of a shock that they lost so many games in a row because, they got rid of Simeon, which was kind of a good trade, but at the end of the day, he was a crucial part of the Athletics lineup. But they still got Matt Chapman. Yeah, they started off 0-6 and it was terrible. But since then, they've gone on an 11-game winning streak. They haven't lost a game. And as I'm recording this now, last night's game was their game against the Twins, where the Twins, the shortstop for the Twins messed up the throw, and they scored 2 runs and won the game like that, which I thought was unbelievable because it's like, wow, of all ways to win a game, it would be that kind of way. 11-game winning streak for the A's, good for them. Mariners are on top, good for them. Angels are great. They're looking really good. Shohei Ohtani is pitching good. He's batting good. Mike Trout, of course. Albert Pujols. They're all doing good. All doing good in LA. I like that. I like to see that, especially for the Angels, because they've had a difficult time because they haven't quite been there, but I think they managed to figure it out. The Astros are slacking a little bit, but they're still pretty high in power rankings. And the Rangers are the Rangers. I mean, come on. Next thing, Lucas Sims for the Cincinnati Reds. It was pouring rain. And every pitcher knows that it is important to get a really nice grip on the baseball in order to get the spin, in order to get the seams right, in order to make hitters swing and miss. That's the whole point of those seams being dry and nice and rough so that you can really get it off the edge of your fingertips. The dude threw 4 balls into the dugout because they're all wet, and the umpire was sick of it and just left him there and, ended up getting his own balls. The funniest part about it, a bunch of MLB fans were like, oh, he should be lucky that he's not getting sent down to AA, or, oh, he should be lucky that he's still on the team, he's still playing in the major leagues. And it's like, but you can't throw a wet ball, because a wet ball, not only is it slips out of your hand, but it's heavier, because when a ball gets wet, that water gets absorbed by that leather and it gets heavier. So no doubt you want a dry ball, especially when it's raining. When it's sitting in the umpire's pocket wide open just so that the rain can get all over it, of course you're going to want a new ball. He's not just doing it just to do it. He's doing it because the ball is wet. And I just hate how these fans are like, oh, he should be lucky that he's still in the MLB. And it's like, but you got to do what you got to do. You didn't see the umpire throw him out of the game for tossing a few balls back in the dugout. Yeah, he was kind of annoyed by it because it's like, dude, I'm giving you all these baseballs and you're just throwing them away. Like, what am I supposed to do? So, yeah, but he's not going to get thrown out for that. And it's not like he should be, moved down to AA or AAA because he threw a few balls back to the dugout because they're wet. Like, that's just dumb. That's dumb. The fans who said that, like, I'm not calling you dumb in particular. I'm just saying that the idea that he should be going down to AA or AAA is dumb. That's dumb. So yeah, Lucas Sims, legend for that. I thought it was hilarious watching it. Francisco Lindor hit his first home run for the Mets this week. You'd think it'd be a good story about him, but it's not. Dude is in a slump. I think the New York Mets will win the NL East. They're going to win the NL East. Pointing that out now. But yeah, Francisco Lindor is in a bit of a slump. Terrible. I haven't been paying attention to the Mets that much, but I can only assume that the reason why the Mets are winning so many games is because you've got, Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, the day I'm recording this, hit a nuke. He's been hitting nukes. If Lindor gets out of his slump and he starts hitting a lot better, then I feel like the Mets, it's not even a question whether or not, they win the NL East. Because I know they've got the Braves, and the Braves are pretty good too, but ultimately, I think the Mets will win because Acuna and Albies aren't necessarily consistent, whereas you've got Pete Alonso, he's consistent. And they've got the thing with Freddie Freeman, why he's not signing, and it's like, maybe it's because the team is bad. Maybe because the Braves are bad. Deep down, they're bad. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Francisco Lindor and the Mets. Now, the last small thing I need to talk about are the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees have been such a big story this week. They've got a great team, and they are horrible. They are horrible. Here's something I want to point out. Sanchez, right? Sanchez today, as I'm recording this video, 1 for 18 in his last 18 at-bats. He is 1 for 18. His series against the Braves, 1 for 18. And today, he didn't even play. Didn't even get an at-bat, nothing. Didn't play. And then you've got Giancarlo Stanton, again, huge guy, power hitter, hits nukes like it's nobody's business, right? And he whiffs at a baseball and gets booed at the stadium. Gleyber Torres has left a ton of Yankees on base and gets out. He left bases loaded open the other day and they lost the game. You still got Aaron Judge, you've got Urshela, and you've got DJ LeMahieu, who are kind of making up for it. And, Aaron Judge's batting average has been high since the season began. Same thing with LeMahieu and same thing with Urshela. They've been really good this season. And now that they've got Mike Ford, is just another addition to kind of make up for the lack of effort and work that Stanton and Torres and Sanchez are putting in. And for the longest time, the Yankees should be one of the best teams in baseball, and they're not. They're not. Last year, I was kind of hoping that it would be a Dodgers-Yankees World Series, like an absolute classic Dodgers-Yankees World Series, and they lost. Hopefully, they'll get out of it and maybe come back, and we might see them in the postseason, but as of right now, it is very, very unlikely. But hey, we'll see what happens. Now, big news items. Here we go. First thing, right off the bat, easiest thing to tell. The Dodgers and the Padres, man. Oh my God. I'm not sure if you guys saw the games last weekend, but I guarantee that you heard about the games last weekend. I said last week that the Padres were going to be the only competition for the Dodgers. And boy, was I right. Oh my God, what a game. What a series of games. And they're playing again. They're playing again this weekend, and I cannot wait. The thing I do want to point out about that are the umpires. The umpire that was in that game was the same umpire who kicked out Bud Black, the manager for the Rockies, like a few days prior. He's bad. These umpires are bad. I gotta go back to the umpires. I'm sorry that I keep going back to it, but these umpires are worse than usual. I understand that they're going to make some bad calls, but when they're consistently terrible, that gets to me. And in the Dodgers-Padres game, I was watching all the games, and I'm seeing these pitches hit maybe a foot outside the plate, and they're calling it strikes every single time. And then you had the Profar and Clayton Kershaw little like kerfuffle where he hit the catcher's glove. And it's catcher's interference, and with catcher's interference, you're automatically granted a base. But they're like Clayton Kershaw was screaming at him. He was like, "You did it on purpose." And the profile's like, "How am I supposed to do that on purpose?" And you can see from the side ankle, he's not even looking at the catcher. He's looking straight down here, and then he just manages to take. But the problem is that I'm pretty sure it's Austin Barnes catching. Yeah, Barnes had already had the ball in his glove, and Profar was like swinging, and it was like. Yeah, and then he hit the glove. Can you really call that catcher's interference when the ball has already crossed home plate and is in the catcher's glove? I thought that was funny because watching the replay, I was like, oh yeah, catcher's interference, easily. But I'm like, wait, he started his swing when the ball was literally at home, was on top of home plate. Ridiculous. But yeah, the Dodgers-Padres series, I said it last week, interesting games. The most interesting games of the year. Every series is going to be a nail-biter as long as both teams can stay healthy. That's all I'm saying. I'll say it again. They're the only competition for the Dodgers this year. All I'm going to say. Now, last thing I want to discuss. I know it's early on in the season. I know, people always talk about, oh, well, it's early on in the season, so you can't predict who's going to win certain awards. But I do want to talk about the NL Cy Young. The NL Cy Young is given to the best pitcher in the National League for that year. And this year, it is really good. I've listed 4 pitchers. The first thing I want to talk about, clearly obvious, is Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom, give some stats for you. So all these pitchers have all played 4 games. So we don't need to go over that. All 4 of these pitchers have played 4 games. But the inning count, hit count, run count, ERA, all different, right? So Jacob deGrom has pitched 20 innings. He's given up 11 hits, 4 runs, has a 0.45 ERA. That means he's expected not to give up a run every game he enters right now. I want to talk about Corbin Burnes. Corbin Burnes, starting pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers. Milwaukee Brewers, high in power rankings this week, looking really good, beating the Padres. Corbin Burnes, 24 innings pitched, so more than deGrom. He's given up 8 hits. He's given up 1 run and has a lower ERA than deGrom at 0.37. 0.45. Yeah, that's amazing. 0.37, somehow even better. Christian Yelich is injured, and they're looking great still. They are looking great. The next person I want to point out is Joe Musgrove. Joe Musgrove is starting pitcher for the San Diego Padres. He, 2 weeks ago, he accomplished the first no-hitter in Padres franchise history. He's pitched 26 innings. He's given up 11 hits, 3 runs, and has a 1.04 ERA, which, giving up, having a no-hitter and still having that ERA, still really good. He's still really good. He's still a dominant pitcher, and I cannot wait to see what he does in the future. And then the last person I have is Clayton Kershaw, starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's got 24.2 innings pitched. He's given up 21 hits, which is really high, 7 runs, and has a 2.19 ERA. Now, I know that there are starting pitchers out there who have a lower ERA, who have given up less runs, who have given up less hits than Clayton Kershaw has. I know that for a fact. But the fact that Clayton Kershaw is such a veteran and he still has it going on for him, I feel like that is something to take into account when it comes to the Cy Young race. Based off of these stats, it's easy to say it's easy to say that Corbin Burnes is the best. He clearly is the best pitcher on that list, obviously. But I got to go with Musgrove. Not because he threw no-hitter, because I know people are going to be like, oh, well, the only reason why you think that is because he threw no-hitter. No, that's not why I think that. Even if he didn't throw a no-hitter and he still had these numbers, I would still pick Joe Musgrove. Because the reason why is the Padres, because I'm now comparing Joe Musgrove to Corbin Burnes. And more generally, I'm comparing the Padres to the Brewers. And they just played each other. Knowing the Brewers and knowing, what they've been like the past few years, I feel like there will come a time where they're going to take their foot off the gas pedal and they're going to lose some games. ERA is going to go up for Burnes, up for Woodruff, all these Brewers pitchers. And with the Padres, they're just going to, because their main objective is just beat the Dodgers. That's it. That's their only goal. Because they know they can beat, they lost to the Brewers, yes. They lost their series to the Brewers, yes. But their main goal is to beat the Dodgers. As long as they can beat the Dodgers and win the NL West, they will be pleased with themselves. I honestly don't think they will do it. I think they will be a wild card team. But maybe in the postseason, we'll see them beat the Dodgers. Joe Musgrove, NL Cy Young, as of right now. As of right now. My opinions could change on that. Maybe it could go to Burnes. Or maybe even DeGrom, who has, a low ERA too. But as of right now, speaking of it right now on this day, I've got Joe Musgrove winning the NL Cy Young. That does it for this episode. Like the video, subscribe, click the bell down below, post notifications. Do me a favor and do that. It'd be great for my channel. Once again, put down in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with. Also put down in the comments if there's something you want me to cover next week that happens in the baseball world. I'll be more than happy to do it if it's, if it ties in with everything I want to say. But yeah, overall, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.